I hope you all had a great week. If you're working today, like I am right now, heading to the Indiana State Fairgrounds to go finish out this boat show strong. I had a really great 2 weeks at the boat show. And with that comes difficulties, challenges, things that come out of nowhere, and not necessarily out of nowhere, but things that just kind of develop over time and they just pop off at unideal times. And last night got a call from a new salesperson that we hired, and he decided to leave the company due to some conversations that he had with some other leadership throughout the show, and felt that he was being disrespected and unappreciated and approached inappropriately. And it is unfortunate. I think when you're in retail sales, the environment can get pretty tough because, from, let's say, the salesperson's perspective, they're already stressed out, especially at these shows. You're getting conversations with a lot of people that, are looking to figure things out, and they may not be in the space of buying. Yet you're held to the standard that you need to close every deal. Not every conversation is a deal. It is and can be a relationship. And so I like to coach on relationships and building those relationships. And at the end of the day, as a commissioned salesperson, you got to sell. So you got to be able to convert, because there are people out there that will make statements because they're apprehensive, etc., that would make them seem like they are not a buyer. But when someone who has been trained in sales for a long time applies certain methodologies, practices, principles, and mainly just really good questions that get the client to think about their decision-making process and helps them come to a place where they are able to make a decision, whereas otherwise, if those questions and that interaction hadn't happened in such a way, they would still be nice about their decision. So you can convert someone who seems like they're not a customer, or they're not ready to buy, or they're uncertain, by helping them become certain and clear and committed to make a move forward with your product or service. So that can be a very back and forth mental struggle for anyone, even the best trained salespeople. So sales is very much a mind reset. Well, we get in these situations where we put ourselves to objectives, and we have leaders that push rather than empower. They push, they pull rather than empower to achieve objectives, or at least seem like they are doing everything in their power to achieve that objective, so it doesn't look like they did not achieve that objective. I mean, there's many different dynamics there, but unfortunately, in this scenario, leaders were pulling, pushing, dragging in that manner, verbally, not physically, towards this goal. We had underachieved a goal that we set for yesterday and for the overall show at this point, which we should make up and supersede today. However, the way in which it was communicated, especially with people fresh in the business, they took it personal. And I don't blame them. I could see how you would. I've been doing this a really long time, so I don't take too many things personal, but I still do, for sure. But I deal with them different because I've been around really hostile environments for a very long time in my life and my career. So I just, I take things neutrally. I don't take them personal. But there is a threshold for every individual and every scenario where if it exceeds that threshold, it isn't conducive to the alignment of a group of people or two individuals to continue to work together. Becomes hostile, becomes toxic, becomes agitated, and that's not productive. And so I think it's important that when we're engaging people, whether we're a leader or not, right? You exude leadership qualities in any communication that you have, and I think it's important to realize that if you have an objective, then it's important that you're very clear on where everyone else stands with that objective, and you don't drag and pull people and to an objective. That's not the most effective way. Now, I used to be that type of leader because I had so much pressure to win that I created for myself. And that pressure is enhanced by receiving information from others where it's like, you better do this, or you're not going to get such and such a position, or you're not going to be looked upon highly in your industry, et cetera. And so you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and then you transfer that pressure onto your team and your staff, and it's toxic. It's detrimental. It is not an effective way of leadership. You will have massive attrition. And so over the last year, we have seen massive attrition because of the push, pull, drag leadership from a lot of different individuals, and it has caused us to lose some really good people, and caused us to create a disconnect between the folks that we have within the organization. And so that can be really disheartening to see. And last night when that employee called me and just said, man, I just can't work for this person, that's not a conducive environment for success. He's like, I'm looking at what we're making and how we do the deals, and then I'm looking at the way in which this leadership is speaking to me and treating me. It's just not going to be conducive for success. And so he's like, it's just unacceptable. I've been in a lot of high earning jobs, and I've never had anybody treat me like that. And this is a guy from the other side of the tracks, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's had a coddled life and everything's been, rainbows and butterflies. But for him to say that, really speaks volumes on the way in which he is being treated. And again, sometimes I've just been desensitized to that. So, pay attention to the way in which you talk to people. If you have an agenda, let's all get on the same page. Let's talk about how that benefits all of us. Let's make sure that we're all clear about our level of commitment to that objective, and then move forward accordingly, because not everybody's going to be 1,000%. I don't care who you are. I see these gurus out there, they're yelling at people, spitting in people's face, getting down on people, and they're like, everyone must be 1,000. And those people can be successful, but eventually those people will burn out. Your company will burn out. You have to keep filling it with people that can take that kind of, critique. Even in the military, you go through boot camp, and they're hard on you as hell because they want to strengthen your mind. But after you graduate, now there's a level of respect that is provided to you as a service member, that, hey, yes, you've graduated this, you understand these things, and yes, you're held to a high regard, but the beratement and the belligerent, consistent yelling and barrage of pressure is not necessarily continued in a lot of respects after you've graduated a certain threshold. So you got to be mindful of that. There are some values in putting a lot of pressure on and creating that sense of urgency and staying micro focused on an individual so that they get to a certain level. But once they do, you got to show them a level of respect for getting to that level and overcoming certain things and achieving certain things, and lay off with the push pull drag leadership style. So again, I hope that when you're out there talking to people, whether you are an individual, you are a team leader, you are a supervisor, a foreman, a manager, a leader of some kind in a hierarchy, be mindful about what your objectives are. And the most important thing to do is start with, here's what my objectives are. Here's what I know the company objectives are. Here's what I know the team objectives are. Where would you say you're at as far as that objective and that your level of commitment towards that unified objective? And then if they say one thing or the other, you say, well, hey, that's great. I'm glad you're on that level. Is there anything I can do to continue to support you at that level? Or if you're not at that level, is there anything I can do to help you get to that level? Do you ever see yourself getting to that level, and what would you need from me and the team to get you to that level so that we can all be on that level? And so again, these are deeper levels of conversation that over time you learn as you mature and realize that the push pull drag method is not sustainable. Stay lavish, guys. I hope you have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow. Hello, all. I love the comments. Your mom was a lot lizard. Nice. Well, hopefully she was good at it. Empower everyone at the